Oye, ¿qué hago, Mara? Ane, Donam, Dinima.
What's this thing doing?
There's some kind of Xbox app thing.
Where's the Zoom gone?
It's updating though. Update, okay. Fine. There you are. There's your translator. Ben.
Hi, can you hear us?
Yes, we can.
We have a technical issue right now because we had to get the speaker and we still have to connect the speaker to properly hear you.
That's okay. Take your time.
So
It's okay.
please,
Thank you.
thank you.
Hey, it's Perry Tan.
Hi, that's me.
What is that? That is what the left is the see. Ale, yeah. Okay.
Powering off.
No. Man. Hola. Oh, thank you.
Robert, you want water?
Power on.
Just some hot water.
Bluetooth mode.
Thank you. Okay. Now we just have to make sure that it doesn't feed back.
You are now connected.
Okay, speaker's connected. Just hope we don't have any feedback issues.
Okay.
Yeah, the speaker's going, so.
Hey, can you hear us?
Yes, we can.
The speaker is not going through.
Yeah. Any sound out of that?
Could we try the small one?
No, it's you know, it's just a Bluetooth, like
Okay.
it's not for some reason, like the computer's connected, but
And this thing is turned on?
Mhm.
Okay.
But it's not giving us any. Zoom is not routing the audio through where it should. I don't know how to get that fixed. There's no setting stuff up here for the audio. No, I think the best way is going to be to straight wire from the headphone jack. We're going to have to do it that way because it's.
Yeah, but that's what we don't have right now.
I know we can't do it right now.
Okay, so we just sit close to the teacher with the laptop thing and organize the other thing later.
Yeah. I'm just gonna I'll listen on Zoom so I can hear the translator through my Bluetooth earphones and.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, you can start the class.
Okay. Let me put on my.
Can they actually see you? No.
No, the camera is turned off.
Yes.
Oh, 다통기도 다
Oh,
남았어.
just did it.
Yeah, it
Okay.
didn't work yet, so we will sit close to the teacher to understand you.
Perfect. That's perfect. I yet didn't have a chance to get the same edition of the book that you have, the same translation. So I will read today again from yesterday's translation, and hopefully by the end of this week I can get the new book. Sorry
Yeah.
about
Perfect. Thank you.
You're welcome. Shova delegishla.
Oh, 저번들에. 그런데 가서 니 야부 따달리가 제마투니 디스 질레테스.
Hey, omare that tema tamuniba. Denzo kabla tagaran yongirba. Hey, omare.
어, 드니 양아서 디스 차상 주소 타고나니 야 야고서 두그라마 셴바 디스 강인듯이. 어야.
Geshe is apologizing for the delay since it's the first couple of times we're having technical issues, but as we go, will get smoother. So
나서 네 단나 고투 찬드서로.
he said it.
라서 어다 가상한테 나 담문듯이도 저와라 템비 둥어 가야 문종세 티보드디 가다 침바르와
Oh,
다테심도 아니야 랑라 현지 거르스나 참무도 참무려나 담이 지 잘래 잡야 당 디지 지 메라 당야 당 아니 조신 시와 소세다 조시디 지당들이 참 지금 속담 적보로 마다야로 딘디 돈달고 고군도 다 시와시디 지당 파츠 지 측득자된 람니 뭐디니 제와다 소 지당 잡을 쉬우지 문도데 간다 딘디 제네 밀라마베 저 소지 측문님 마위체 아니 다 닝라 체르마수바타 아니 무수비 둥어 종와양 딘디 제디 당하서 남지 윤된 그 소위 나는 몸부지를 연구여라디 아니 생그 참모 제바당 즉 측득자된 람니 신지소서 지당 라견데 요나레 메나레 아니 지금 측득자 야마인 베딘디르라 원디 아니 소소고 지금 다닝라 베체마수가 나신게 아니 둥어딘데 종와띠양 추진에도 또나 대탐체에서 대그 저서 창마 가르쳐 그래들이 자차신도 아니 닝보 메비 아니 랑신 신이 아니 세면 뱀볼라 차와 소 제바타르 예무데와 예무데위 등가 참모양 문종 쓰시 어딘데 저 성샤도
Okay, so let's take it from where we left it yesterday. We are in a paragraph that starts talking about using unpleasant words. In my text, it starts by saying, in the same way, when unpleasant words of abuse, blame, slander, and so forth, therefore, when we're having an argument with someone, or we are criticized, or we're told off by someone, when these words are spoken by others about oneself, there arises a suffering like being pierced in the heart with a thorn. So sometimes the words that we receive or we hear from others when we're criticized or when we're told off, they hurt as if a thorn was pierced in our heart. However, if we understand the essential topics of religious practice, if we understand the Dharma correctly, then we see that all of these words are essenceless, like an echo, and even slight suffering does not arise as if mindless matter had been abused, as if what has been said doesn't have a real entity. Therefore, it doesn't affect us like it would if we believe in the solidity of the words.
딘데리 샤스리 다 취제nen도데 야고시 신이 삼로 냠렌도 체시그레 냠렌도 체 tum나 아니 땡땡딘데 연구 요사레 아니 셴바치게 치 아니 소소라 두자로 라바타 둥어 가르로 체바이나양 파쇼고 미디가 아니 귤라 치 아니 뇽몬투 섬 컨트로다 가게라소 베샤완데 균이 아틴디 땡게 치게 요바마토 아니 티앙 코랑 쿠 미디양 지 미시비 완도 손이 엔디디 치게 요레 sonza ani ta ko karalamna ko ji malawa nashi chini ni samno chi tani de thoba yina ani disem dunga to jungo yosamares.
So here in the text is explaining that if we're able to understand the Dharma correctly, if we do understand the Dharma correctly, then even if we are criticized or we're spoken in a harsh manner, then if we are able to think that the person is not actually with their own intention saying these words, but they are actually provoked or controlled by their own afflictions, by their own hatred, by their own anger, or by their own frustration. Basically, they are controlled by their own ignorance. And if we think like that, then we'll think that it's not actually the person who's uttering these words, but it's their afflictions or their ignorance who is uttering these words.
Ola so tene nga ta tin mandini karson de temsong se chendre dra mutul bi dungar se chendila ba dra so kapten cha mutu ni datul mutu dungar anye munchong wi dungar se anye so yang ba chi yapore ro chini ma ginchong yapo jire ro moche bi dungar ta shen gyar shi rang pambi dungar so sem dor na se ta so chen shin ro dra mutu kashi jing wonzin dungar tin ding wonzin chene to so 참말로 dorna 가르는도 뒤나 가르레스네 녜바 녜다 마니 데다 무데 솔라 템비 레토 땅 리심지 동와 침치바 침치 땅 세샤 데르 마세 gerkap pansin kutsugi jinga chengi amatuk chongte kendo chami ki deki mingil hamar chumni dunga chitar tuba so dorna tsendi tsendir ani dungar chechong kanchongwa tedak jang ani chok mashi batang 시장 라렌도 마스터리 퀸인스 오 tindi직 송샤티 chechi gyursha.
Nothing. Then the text continues. Similarly, in this lifetime, the suffering of not subduing enemies, the suffering of not keeping friends. Rather, I will change a little bit the translation I'm reading from because it doesn't coincide correctly with the Tibetan. So it says, in this lifetime, the suffering of having enemies that have not been subdued. So having enemies, basically. And the suffering of not keeping friends is rather the suffering of having friends, having loved ones that do not act according to our expectations. So that also creates suffering. The suffering of others winning and oneself losing, the suffering from terrifying warfare and mutual hostility between nations, which destroys the happiness of countless beings. In short, all of the hopes and fears based on gain and loss, happiness and unhappiness, all physical and mental pain whatsoever, are due either to not understanding religious practice or not putting it into use despite understanding it.
오 tindido jirisha tanangatu tandi dina makson anye da mani sonde matsol goya ge chala soso ndoba yongay to so manye patang tim mogo nye mogo aji nasa da dunga laso ma mombo ji nye dewa tang ani chi ta modo bi dunga dina mombo ji nye ondi tig mo dewa tere tang ani laso pa ge dini choya ge ani su de ani nalo nang sambe ge redok tang di lisim ani ge 동아 간딘지 연한테 tindi mambuchi ani keba tang kegdu si entiso yoya chamala yo tu de ta ngacho ka tu ina karina chabja karinji ina ya ani reto hajan chetana rewa da topa hajan chetana ani ya dungar mambuchi ani mutini jungu yoba tindi tang tindi ta te message tindi jakha panse paru tati sa tang ta thon zambuli mula ngosung gu pate thon de ya yong de ya taurusila so bada diri jakal phat mambuchi ani tan tupashoni ani diniga ta ani matse mambuchi chi nime ko genro mambuchi la ani dingar samji mecha ba tseso tani de baji o tindi mi mambuchi tseso shonru yo bada tindi dingar chamalo ani tati counter to dingar mambuchi yo ba chamalo kari chebare la de sude ani ta tu chomashi ba 소소 가를 정한테 아니 초시바도 뺏게 친구 지금 받아 초마시바다 다 초시 되게 친구 임받아 하고네 또 라는 야보다 마투비 왕기 균다 둥아들이 몸부지 용군도 어떤 선배이세.
Here in this paragraph that we just read, it says fears based on gain and loss. So here gain and loss refers to not getting what we need, what we want. Sometimes we wish for things and we don't get that we wish for, and sometimes we do not wish for things and they happen nevertheless. Like, for example, when we get ill, or when our body, one of our body parts hurt, or when we have some suffering in a relationship. So we do not wish for any of those sufferings. However, we do gain, we do experience those sufferings. Therefore, here it says that it mentions, in my edition, it mentions all the hopes and fears based on gain and loss, happiness and unhappiness, physical and mental pain whatsoever. So hopes meaning expectations. So if we have many expectations, too many expectations, or if we have too much fear, then we will have proportional suffering. So we will have as much suffering as we have expectations and fears. And also it mentions the warfare, the wars between countries, between nations, like we can actually see nowadays within Ukraine and Palestine, etc., and the toll in lives that these warfares take, and how many lives are lost, and how much suffering these wars and conflicts provoke. Therefore, all of this suffering, says His Holiness, comes mainly from not understanding the Dharma, or not understanding one's own spiritual path. And not only not understanding one's own spiritual path, because we might understand our own religion, however, we do not put it into practice. And this wouldn't happen if we put our own religion into practice.
Oh, dindi sir, dindi sonda chokshi shin. Dazo ngazo chokshi yaboji tenshi tenbatang. Oni dindi chini drumna. Dinga tamchi jischu nugure, jinshu gure, jinshu nuse, jinshu ni, ani mamba miyongba dindi jinshu se. Kaptu dunga meba chaya ta, ani jinga ge jinshu ya nila jinshu se di, ani junga dindi tamchayna, jini miyongwa dindi jinshu nuse. Chitar nuse, kanisi nugure, chitar ni naase, nugure se na, tendawi dunga tamche kyang, dindi dunga yong deya tamche kyang, kaa ni junga du se ya taon di, su ngay ger dang. Tasazu semna nga ger yora di dani ani serna chato ani cha dang monsum o di atu sola teni jongwa bashi yin shin chama tendil teni jongu yore de tatu yongya ge pa chao chao no tu di chomushi pala teni ani dinga da tu yongu yo tang tu ga pa chao to pa ten do na kari yongu du si di kari ni jongu du si de nga ger dang serna dang chato ta disu pasawan de sona cha dang mo sum o ani do cha dang ani dang se di control o ta dini mong ba se da marik ba pa tu so la te ne jong ba shi yin song sha
It says, if religion is understood and practiced, all of this suffering can be eradicated. Then the continuum in Tibetan, it states like the continuum of the suffering can be stopped. So we can put a stop to this continuity of suffering and making others suffered. Why? All such suffering arises only in dependence on such things as pride, miserliness, jealousy, and the three main poisons, which are not desire, but attachment, hatred, and ignorance. Therefore, all of these sufferings arise mainly from these mental afflictions, and it states six main mental afflictions, which are pride, miserliness, and jealousy. But then they are all rooted in the three main poisons, which are attachment, hatred, and ignorance.
o dindirisha dindu chu jin tu se da chu je tona chu nyamle je ba da chu je shi ba chu tu zu sem gi kyen der nam je shin da chu na lo zu de kare che yo re se di chu kare chu na ga lab ja la le nyamle che ba la ter che ba ina zu kare yo re se di sem gi kyen de da sem gi kyen do cha nga ger control da gi son de ak so ma ani kyen de na ma shi shin me ba zo tu re do ba la ten ne 아니 가리운 거리네 초시바 용거리 아니 뭐차시바 데 뭐차 트미게 레카 몸부지치네 아니 되게 답죠 몸부지니 되게 몸부지 거 요디 되게 도쇼 뭐차시바던 체요바 아니 바유비 자와 레카 바메게 자와 몸부 마지게 바유바 자와 줍데스 아니 루심 따도 진짜 대왕 바시기 다와 리에스 동아 무소파 문종 위스 센터 대시 개발 도치 아니 도치 등거 아니 문도 나요 추견에도 또버 친나 진니 락터 라렌트 따와 니 가치와 인 송샤.
Therefore, it says that by pacifying and overcoming these faults, which have been previously mentioned, such as pride, miserliness, jealousy, attachment, hatred, and ignorance, which are mainly mental, they are mental afflictions. Through the power of religious practice, one achieves knowledge of contentment as well as self-concern, concern for others, opinion of you, and conscientiousness. So if we are able to put what we have learned about the Dharma, about religion into practice, then we will be able to apply the corresponding antidotes to such mental afflictions. And here it mentions a few, and it mentions contentment, which can also be translated as satisfaction, feeling satisfied, feeling content, as well as self-concern. Self-concern is actually like embarrassment, like you have a certain level of embarrassment, so you don't engage in certain actions because you feel they would be embarrassing for you to engage in those actions. Concern for others' opinion of you, it means like also, in a sense of embarrassment when you do something and you're concerned, oh, if I do something such and such, something like this, then others will think bad of me, therefore I will refrain from doing such an action. And conscientiousness, so taking care, being careful of one's own actions and thoughts. So body and mind remain constantly in pleasant tranquility, whereby unbearable suffering does not arise.
Hola, so Dindirisha. Teni tetar che ane tetar che pitse tetar che pitse tetar tini legati chawati che pe karching du sena tagin docha kontrong aja la soba ani tusugo ani ma kyen tuso ma ji chani tini che tuba ina ani kare yungore sena chen de deki tsamgi mocho ani chen di dewani kare do chetam shitam shigya cheyang 아니 마시 춘제기 대화 잠시 임베스 바다디 아니 첸디게 데키자도 마시 춘제 잠게 데키 임베 첸디 임베스 체체타랑 던데르 로잘 학점리 모원위 디 윤기 대화 인신 첸디 가지가 로 춘주 부 춘주인데 기부 종니 아니 멋지 타케니 기부 용해야 돼 기당个백하고 용 멋지반도 오지리 멋순로지네야 강에 만체바다 아니 지금 어떤 마요네 대화 장장관이 로투야 돼 패치 메용와 지레샤 같이 용화 있나야 데 딘디고 데키 종 쓰봐야 되니 종화 있나야 디 아니 가지 할이 어시게 첨부서 말해서 많이 비dimsen 가르레시디 같이 규람보지 대화 있나야 아니 미지기나 아니 로잘 하점네 용고 말해시 딘디지게 대화 인신 아니 최치마 셔타링위 최치마에다 하장 델리파 탁 링부 시부지 링부 요베 링웨지 디든 시줍 고베스 디든 된지 죽고군두스 고 요타 아니 새로 치마 남수 아니 대화 톱탑당 둥어 폰터 비식람 베고 베바치 고군두스 어디네 손샤.
So it continues saying the text, therefore, if we want happiness and pleasure in this life and do not want suffering, it is very important to understand the essential topics of religion and then implement them in practice. Doing so, however, we should not be satisfied merely with happiness in this life. No matter how great the happiness of this life may be, it lasts only until death, not more than 100 years, since no one lives much longer than that. And here we also must mention that we should not expect one's life to be forever happy or only happy, because as long as we're within a cyclic existence and we're born, we're bound to experience suffering and problems and conflicts. So this is a natural part of life. So we shouldn't be like little kids that expect everything to go well the whole time and to have fun the whole time. But even if we have a life where suffering is not very deep or not very present, here the text mentions that we should not focus exclusively on the happiness of this life, because even the happiness of this life may only last at maximum no more than 100 years. And this is actually not a very long period of time. And after that, we will have to experience future lives. So it says, future lives are journeys of greater length, and thus we must secure that long-range interest.
샤세 대양 딘디 인데 대양 가르 두스나 디 하장가 아니 저 치마세도 치다람보 하장가 깨와 몽볼 조고 여탄 딘디다 하장가 타링부디 인데 대양 디에 네캅 그 안타마로 대와지 줍니 딘디 치고요나 대양 아니 추기 돈이 주바 마토 자규 현시게 돈이 줍탑테니 요 마레시 딘디 손샹도.
So, since future lives are journeys of greater length, meaning that future lives are going to be a very, very long journey, because many future lives are going to happen before we actually get enlightened. Since this is the case, then we must work in order to guarantee happiness in future lives, if experiencing happiness in future lives is something that we wish for. So therefore it says we must work for the means of gaining happiness and alleviating suffering in future lifetimes.
Dirisha. Ta ni dila ndika ku chima mombu chile ni da na jang chuta rimbo ta chima ton mombu ju ani drubgo atini shebi kabdela ta chimi ton drubgo ba shebi kabla ani kari yungundu sena chu mishiba chu dona mishiba ne do mishiba 아니 전부 죽던다 전부 지 대대스리 신아양 아니 짐세 찐치바드나 짐세 빼타 줘바도 드니 야보 마신게 가시게 셈바나로 메 가시게 셈바나라 아시샤 가르두라나 따티 셈디 룰라 템바 잠레 따케와 합치 랑기 모슴지 만통위 내냠바 용시시 어따수들이샤 가리스나 단다 아니 첸디 대와디 가리스나 하장그 지단다 대와 되고 요다 첸디 대와디 고글에 이나양 아니 첸디 대와다 하장그 아니 인 저치마치마 남서 삼다나 인 하장그 퉁퉁지 임바딘디 셰비 갑라 아니 저치마치마세야 그 딘디 된다 셰발라 아니 저치마치마세야디 아니 추전에도 마통케다 안뜨고 아니 가르스네 저치마세야도 요 말이지 용거 말이 요 말이지 가르스나 아니 저왕시 원성 통화 매바당 마틴디 요 말이지 어딘디 셈바 용거레스 용시지 딘디 용거레스도.
Furthermore, there is absolutely no way to achieve such happiness through techniques other than religious practice, it says. Here, in the context of explaining the need to secure the welfare of future births, let us consider the opinions of certain people who do not know about the doctrine of rebirth or the teachings of rebirth, or who know a little about it but do not fully comprehend the reasons of it. So here we've just mentioned that future lives are going to take much longer time than the present life, because the present life will last no more than 100 or 110 years. Therefore, since future lives are gonna come, and we're gonna have to take rebirth again and again, and what we wish for is to experience more happiness than suffering in future lives, then we have to take care of that in the present. We have to make sure we cultivate the causes of such happiness in the present, happiness of future lives, right? However, there are many people who question this and who focus exclusively in the happiness of this life, which is actually we all need. We all need to cultivate and to experience happiness and well-being in this life. This is important. However, we should not exclusively focus on this, since, just like we just said, future lives are going to be very long. We have a very long journey ahead. However, many people focus exclusively in this life because they do not believe in past lives and future lives. So let's say in rebirth, mainly the reason being that they have not seen future lives and they cannot remember past lives.
딘디리샤 딘디 삼로 종야 대에서죠. 가르세나 용스야 되는 삼로 용한테 간디스 용고도스디 연나 모습진 통고바 셈밤 시카리시 요 마레스 카시 연나 모습고 통고도 시켜치만 딘디 치마레스 모습 통고도 Sambam se yana sem de karsena lula teni kegresi luse libon supola lupala teni lin karse luse at condition jongo do se on de litin jonga chimbo sai jonga de sachi melongo jonga jela teni jonga yin bes inde yin ta ani kewa ngama ne bata kewa ngama ni yo mare samya samnu korea chitini jini yongo yores ani chiwi tsen 다 치용디 마시로데 미시용디 가르든 종아 침부 유시당 셈나 종아 침부 단 종아 수식도 릴텐디 달리고리 보코지로 무슨가서 투야데리 딘두고데 셈나 남칼란 자야 와르터 가시테다 로시디 외메바 차도나지 예드와베 저치마 메 제르바 저와 치마 제르바 메 아니 냠바 인시 어딘디 진디 삼로딘 코르게 요레스
So it might occur to them, so here His Holiness is going to explain some reasons why we might negate the existence of future lifetimes or of rebirth. It might occur to them that the present mind depends exclusively on the body, and that because they do not directly witness former and future lives, they do not exist. Their idea is that if something exists, it must be seen directly. So therefore, according to this line of reasoning, only things that can be seen or things that can be witnessed are things that exist. And this is, as we know, not sustainable because there are many things that we don't see that do exist. Or they might think that the mind is produced in dependence on the body, and that the body arises in dependence on the four great elements, which are earth, water, fire, and wind. And therefore that former lifetimes do not exist. They thus might conclude that at death the body turns into the four elements, so the body disintegrates once again into the four elements, and the mind turns into space like a disappearing rainbow. Hence they conclude that it cannot be said Hence, they conclude that it cannot be said that there are subsequent lifetimes. So in this last case, we see that the mind would be a byproduct of the body, meaning that the mind is a byproduct of matter, which the body is made out of matter. And in the first case, we see that the lifetimes or rebirths are negated or refuted in terms of not being able to witness or to see past and future lifetimes.
Oh, dangerous. Tene takron ti samlu taon di kari resiti lodi ngachu sim ngachu kanza simchen kanza mida su ji ko lodi lula teni temper dobi samba samchur la de kari sam go yore samchur te ani pe shang de ko zu ko ro pe de kari sha du se chang da chang 창기 뉴바 뉴제 니전도 이선에 단도 로드를 로당 류니 류기 다니 로드 류기 다니 삼바도 코나고 다니 ngo인바 이레 삼바당 직체 양조 페셴바지라 드메당 드메고 드메당 내가 드메하고 드메다 드메고 나신 아니 가리 인수디 아니 류데 Yete Luigi Jibuyin Sambatans, Drume Bartin, one Jungu Yotan, the Jibuyin Sambatan, Tikbatans, Tikbalangato, the Jang to Tikbatolani, remote chair, the remote Nanshin, any Lute, Yete Luigi, you intend to cure about Samba sauce, Sotans, the remotion to Samba soy, so keys, a carriage on the Yanyan Chindi, Kematabi same day. That didn't some Dodo some don't have something the thing done by some the Dodo China Carre City. Sendi Kima topic request same day, Rington assembly came Mogobar, same day on Tanda any Mikima tabi same day young, Rington be same till came Mogobar, Ring Montemba, Semilin, Semikim Jolly K days, Tigres. Kosuti Kyo Pedal Dagi to shower Charlie. Any Charlie New two towns, Chang any Chambon the any kind news and the guy Sunni, Rasani, and Nibatiga, and Sunni, any call nobody, which are new two towns, which are any Meshedly, Meso, any Jilim Jibu, Garsu, Jilim Jibu, Mumtumban Jonga Tar Samba Tansi. Judan Jibu, Yasiba Chiba Ring Rao Yong Gogo Mare, Tini Mumtumban Jungari Samba Tansi. Tini Tation the Tokyo and Gashi Gisi, Ata Jumta, Tusula, this Jang Tangi. That is Tokyo City, Tindi Chigu, Kepa Mobochi to get in the Tokyo City, Tindiga, Ani Sema, Ani Dumbota, Sema Senahagu, Sema. What to draw the need the same as the Riri Doctor, Sema Dumbo down, Serma the Kumato, Serma, the Serma do, Serma Numbo down, and Machag, the Machag, the Machag, any don't, Trawas on Don Hajan Trawa, you are so, also, Koto, Chepabu Meba down, the Susi Zogo Mare, Koran the Chepabu Yo Maresia, and the young pin batu so, Joachima Meba, they are 2 quarters to Dindi, and Jimmy Palikio do Batuso de Sogore. Ani Senachin, Jimba Moton was Senachin, Tanda Senachin, and Jimba Moton gets to young, any Jillian, any Chupu Jedro down. Ani so chunke, so Momuche Dingi, the Serumbu, any dea Dindi Tongues. Mani Jimsetana Latin, any Tanda Karjun, any Jim Mepa Magdu, say Otina Sonsha.
Among those who think that mental awareness depends on the body, there are some who think that the mind is of the nature of the body, like beer and its capacity to intoxicate or make us drunk. So some think that mental awareness and the body have these kind of relationship where one necessarily have to go with the other, and where there is one, the other necessarily is present, in the same way that whenever beer is drunk, then intoxication happens. Others think that the mind is an effect of the body, like a lamp and its light. So there's a causal relationship between the mind and the body being the cause and the mind being its result or its effect, just like light is the effect of a lamp. And still others think that the mind is a quality of the body, like a characteristic function of the body, like a wall and a mural of it, and a mural on it. So it's like a characteristic or a quality of the body. Thus, they basically think that a mind that was just produced in this lifetime need not have been produced from an earlier mind or similar type, but rather is produced from mindless elements. So here, in this way of thinking, the person thinks that mind can be produced like matter, from matter, which is what we were mentioning earlier, and that therefore a mind, in order to happen in this life, does not need a preceding cause of a previous mind, but only needs a present cause of matter, which is the body, the egg, and the sperm of the parents in this case. So in the text, it continues saying, I'll just read again the sentence so it's clear. Thus, they basically think that a mind that was just produced in this life need not have been produced from an earlier mind or similar type, but rather is produced from mindless elements, so matter, which are of dissimilar type, which do not concord, because consciousness and matter are they are different types of elements. As is the case, for example, with the power of intoxication from beer, or fire from a magnifying glass. In other words, the arising of an effect that does not accord with its cause. So it would be a non-concordant causal effect to say that the mind stems from matter, from body matter, because they are two different types. Is like a gold arising from wood, for example. Similarly, some mistaken logicians, so people who have studied philosophy or who have studied other spiritual paths, observe that there is no one who makes peace, I'll just read it again. Similarly, some mistaken logicians observe that there is no one who makes peas round, sharpens thorns, or colors the eyes of a peacock feathers. They observe that there are uncharitable misers who become wealthy, murderers who live long lives, and so forth. And therefore they assert with bogus reasons that there is no such thing as the cause and effect of actions, leo karma, carrying over from one lifetime to another. So basically here it's saying that some people observing certain aspects of reality, since they cannot establish the causal relationship of certain phenomena, such the fact that peas are made round, or that naturally thorns are sharp, or that the peacock's feathers have are naturally colored, since they cannot establish that the relation between those effects and a specific cause, then they can affirm or assert that there are phenomena that they just arise in a causal way, not a causal way, sorry, but without a causal relationship, that things can arise without a specific and concordant cause, and therefore they are also willing to accept that the mind can also be the effect, the natural effect of the body. Geshe la, tanda chiwa chilen ki duzo so?
Tatare, Kazan is Chirag, Yatitane Tatare.
So here we are going to leave some space for questions. So if you have any questions, any doubt regarding this topic or yesterday's topic, then this is a good moment to ask a question.
Rika call trials.
Okay, Geshe-la, you just said that the mind can exist without the body, but can the body exist without the mind? For example, if someone is in a coma, they sometimes say their mind has left the body. Is that possible in Buddhist sense, or is this just a mistaken perspective?
Thank you. What's your name?
Rika,
Vika.
like Costa Rica.
Like Costa, Rika, okay.
Yeah.
Geshe-la, Rika ki chewa kare de lamna. Tayi, sosu ki sem, da luma tempe sem, lula matempe sem decho gires, Geshe-la sunyo sares. Yinaya, sem matempe lu, detu gire mare. Kainsena tsamsala, mi kashi ki shu chimbo nane, konzo menkala, semba tor. Ani, ta dawa, nima chik dunta chik dawa chik, konzo semba pet torne. Ani dedegi yore, dedu, subo yore yinayang, mi kashi ki subo pagila de yonayang, sheba pa sacha shembala joyo sare lamyen dendre yores. Keran chena yamena nambe chela dendre yin siwarewe.
Leon. The Lipo, the Chidan, Semi Kateni, any Tindigo Neka Yoya Yore, Yomare, Sando, Net, what the Tindi Torso, Nambi Shoni Sheba in a Luita, Sem Kateni, any Tindidroni, Yang Jil, Su, Ranja Koronga, Namshitsu, Lea, Tindiga, Jonganala Yore, Tagana Yores, Ani Tatindi Tada Jonganala, Juma Jumatana, Mombo Lugi Mombo Yore, Ani Timat says, Yato. Rika konya na ngato po chongju ke damga se di lipo shempa na ni sempa namshi jewolo ni patun doya andi yore se yena yang di do shabi di chang tanga so nambi shong ni sheba ina lu chamo jil teni document do lu chamo jil teni ani pombo koranto le uzugu pombo shempa da nyam do choni ma do yang pombo rakpa yore tana ngaso bu la kamba da la bala so zubu rakpa chimbo ji do Tuzoda Puki Shani Dra Yores, you are the Songo Yores.
Geshe-la ki sumba de kumbo raba shana yang kadu yine semba de lu chamo nyamdo jogi yore sunyimbe.
Oh, somebody shouldn't dry Lurabashani dry Yores, Yena and Druitse, Lutramoji Yamdan Druyosares, Semba Chamba Tindin Rumaris.
That's so. So Rika, in this case, there are in the text mentions many stories actually of people who are able to leave their coarse body and their mind to go elsewhere and then come back into the body. Similarly, there are also stories of people who are able to insert their consciousness in other people's bodies. So in this way, we could say that it's possible, according to many Buddhist texts, for the mind to leave the body and to exist without the body. However, when we talk about the body, we can talk about different levels of coarseness. How do you say that in English? Coarseness, maybe. You understood what I'm saying, right? So
Yeah.
some are coarse, some are subtle. So we can talk about the coarse body and we can talk about a subtle body. So even though we can say that a mind can leave the body and the mind can survive without the body, we are saying what we are actually saying is that it can survive without a coarse body. But every time the mind exits the body and is able to sustain itself, is always along with a very subtle body. So the mind always goes along the body, but not necessarily along the coarse body. It goes always together with a subtle body.
And the question was, can the body exist without a mind, or is it like immediately dying?
Lasso. Geshe-la ani tiwan nibadi kesi susu sem dan lubo kachena subodi midiki subodi lamsa shito irebe yamena detu irebe sombo.
다 리보 양 지금 가르치나 셈디게 디스 셈바치니 데투고요나 아니 리트로라 마드니 디스 지롬보 데투야 게지 시거래 셈데 기당 코 남시 잠바 두고요나 셈디게 베리코 르 땅와도 베리 땅니 드 마샤와이나 아니 셈바게 신데야 제지 라베 딘데 셈데나 아니 코 리보 트로라 마드와라 펜토 용고요레스 아니 티메디 페디 남시메와 차선은 이제 남긴 와서 미시선을 공부해야 다보자 토마토데 직반로 차그레스.
If it's the case that the consciousness is leaving the body temporarily, let's say it's doing some sort of, I don't know, deep practice and it's leaving the body, but just temporarily to go out and then come back, in a way, the mind is still grasping to the body, right? It's not like the mind is saying, okay, I'm just going to leave away this body. But if the mind completely leaves the body, as in the case of death, then the body will die instantly. So this is the difference.
Okay, thank you.
That's all. Shimba, is there other questions? Also on Zoom, if you wish to ask a question. Didn't Shimba use amare? Hagila ngosu yomare?
Del Robert Maser. You
explained it so well.
Sorry?
Well, Geshe explained it so well. I don't have any questions.
Geshe sebo sekyan tishe kya byozang ane nga tiwa tanda toba dende chumasong.
That's all, yeah. That's it, yeah. Okay, any Sanine Jini Yang Asumuntuni Radian to a young Tangi China.
Less. Well, we'll leave it here then. But if you have any more questions, since we're going to meet again on Friday, then if between now and Friday some doubts or questions arise, then you can ask the questions from today. You can also ask them on Friday if you wish.
Yeah,
thank you, everyone.
That's all to China. That's it.
Yeah.
That's all.
Bye bye, everyone.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you a lot.
Bye.
Perry's here. She's sitting at the library.
Huh?
Perry's sitting in front of the library. She's in town. I didn't know.
No. I'm in Singapore. It's just the background.
Look at the Zoom background of the library.
Yeah. See
You
you.
tricked me. See
Yeah,
you.
I'm in Singapore. Bye.